A little over 4 years ago, on June 11, 2018, I submitted my very first game jam ever. It was for the Shenana Jam 2018, where the themes were based on the goofy titles of Butterscotch Shenanigans podcast, and I had chosen the theme Void Burger. My game was rudimentary to say the least. I remember being frustrated with how little I was able to get done in the time, and I also remember just how much time it took me to get basic stuff like movement done. But in the game, you play as a sentient cheese grater, and you have to stop any cheese from reaching the bland burger in the middle and ruining its perfect lack of taste. It was an endless arcade game, and you could dash and also shoot a ball that knocked cheese back from the burger. But cheese could basically just spawn on the burger and instantly make you lose, which was pretty frustrating to say the least. So now, after 4 years of learning game development, I'm going to try to remake this game using all the things I've learned. I'm going to keep all the basics of the game the same. It'll still be an endless game about stopping hordes of cheese, but I'll make some changes and improvements to see how it turns out. This video is sponsored by the generous people at SNHU. If you are interested in making your own video game, then consider this. What if you had the knowledge and experience to make your game a reality and turn it into an actual career with opportunities for growth? If that sounds exciting, let me tell you about Southern New Hampshire University, who is sponsoring this video. SNHU has one of the largest accredited non-profit online degree offerings in the country. They feature over 200 degree programs focused on getting you started in or advancing yourself in a career that you'll love. Let's talk about SNHU's game development program. In this program, you'll learn how to make realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences with game AI, game physics, 2D and 3D graphics, and interface design. You'll also learn computer programming languages like C++, C#, and Java. And you'll learn 3D modeling and texturing with game art software. Courses are taught by industry experts who will teach you how to research, develop, and contribute to advances and trends within the field of game programming. All of SNHU's programs are extremely flexible as there are no set class times, which allows you to work when and where you want. If you started college and never finished, SNHU will let you transfer up to 90 credits so you don't have to start over. And that's up to 75% of a bachelor's degree and up to 33% of a master's degree. SNHU is radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation and haven't increased in 10 years. So if you want to make your very own game about a sentient cheese grater or whatever probably much better game idea you have, then go to snhu.edu/levin. Link is in the description. I started out by making a Unity project and a cheese shredder, but the cheese shredder looked stupid, so I messed with its proportions and moved its face. Then I had to make a third-person character controller. I just made a custom script with a built-in Unity character controller and used Cinemachine, and it works well. I then added a simple dash to the character controller to make it a bit more interesting to control. Then it was time to animate it. I decided to try to make all the animations as bouncy and satisfying as possible, so there was lots of squashing and stretching, plus he does an epic combat roll for the dash. After I got everything hooked up in the code, I was pretty happy with how it all turned out. I really don't think it's possible to make a sentient cheese grater that feels better to handle. Next, I had added in the most important mechanic into the game, grating. But I guess I need something to grate first, so I modeled some cheese. Grating was pretty simple. I just made the cheese disappear when you touch it, but that obviously wasn't enough to fulfill my sick virtual cheese grating desires. So I added some particles to spray out the back of the cheese grater, and then I also made the cheese scale down a bit before deleting itself, which gives a nice cartoony grating look. And to finish it all off, I added some screen shake, which Cinemachine makes really easy to do. By the way, I totally recommend using Cinemachine. It was pretty hard to figure out at first, but once I watched a few videos and got the hang of it, I realized just how powerful of a tool it really is. Now that I have cheese in the game, I think it's time to violate a few more laws of science and imbue this lifeless chunk of dried up milk with the horror of sentience. In the original game, cheese has legs, which is fine, but I have a much better idea. I'm going to take advantage of the whole third dimension that I have added to the game, and I'm going to make the cheese physics-based. I'll just move it by adding a force facing the burger, a bit of upwards force, and a bit of torque to make it spin. So yeah, now the cheese can move, as it inches towards its one purpose for existing, and as a player, you can grate it out of existence inches away from reaching that goal. Good. Oh, and for some reason, if I spawn in an excessive amount of the cheese, then they'll eventually stop jumping towards the middle and instead commit suicide by jumping off the edge of the earth. I did not program in this behavior at all, but it 100% proves the rat utopia studies. Overpopulation will drive all of us insane. Now that I have all the pieces of the game ready, I just need to put them all together in a game loop. A game loop is basically the loop of things that you do during the game. Nailed it. So basically, I just need to make a lot more cheese and make it possible to lose. Cheese spawning is pretty simple. It just picks a random spot, checks if it's far away enough from the burger, and then spawns the cheese there. I also figured that the game would benefit from looking a bit less like a default Unity scene. So I made the world's most detailed texture in Photoshop for the ground, and I also set up a nice gradient skybox that fades to black near the horizon, adding in a bit of black fog and a bit of depth of field, and the game looks pretty nice with minimal work. The next stop for a game loop is a menu and a way to exit the game. It really doesn't matter if it's a 2-second long jam game. Just add a UI button that calls application.quit. Just make sure that whoever plays your game doesn't have to go into the taskbar to quit the game, because that kind of ruins the whole experience. But anyway, the menu for my game is super simple. It just has some text, a couple of buttons, including an exit button, some very detailed lore, some controls, and a burger. So now the game is somewhat complete. I just need to add a bit more depth and progression to it. First off, I just added a simple mechanic that should increase the skill ceiling. Normally the dash has a short cooldown, but I made this cooldown instantly reset whenever you shred cheese, so that allows for some smarter routing and strategy whenever it comes to movement. Next up, I'm going to be revisiting one of the mechanics from the original game that I've yet to implement. Basically, you can shoot these balls that knock back the cheese. I have no idea what these balls are, so I'm going to try and improve it a bit. Now they are tomatoes, and instead of knocking back the enemy a tiny amount, I made them freeze the enemy in place for a while, which makes a bit more sense in my opinion. I made projectiles millions of times, so it was a breeze to set up, and I added an OK particle effect and made the frozen cheese turn red. This adds quite a few choices to the game just from this simple mechanic. When I was playing the game, I found myself either aiming at groups and then dashing in and easily take them all out at once, or also just shooting the burger to freeze any cheese that gets close to the burger. Also, lore-wise, there is a tomato repellent shield on the burger that prevents the tomato from ruining its blandness, so don't worry. The only thing left to do was to make the endless spawning into a wave system that gradually increases in intensity. This is so that you get a better sense of progression and also some breaks from the cheese. I actually used animation curves in order to set up the progression. This allowed me to have pretty specific and also pretty flexible control over how fast it progresses, with the two variables that I modified being the amount of cheese that spawned in each round, which increases, and the delay in between cheese spawns, which decreases. Animation curves work great for this implementation, and I totally recommend using them as they make bouncing a breeze. But yeah, that's basically all. I made the game available to play on itch.io, so you can check out the link in my description to play it. It's a pretty basic arcade game, just like the original, and it's not super replayable or anything, but I mostly just wanted to make something simple to take a break from online multiplayer, which is what the next video will be about, by the way. It was fun to finally go back and remake my first Jam game. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my Patreons, and thank you to SNHU for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check them out if you are interested in pursuing an education in game development. Bye.